Welcome to the first episode of Ask Diz. I'm Diz. The premise of the show is really simple. You ask a running related question, and I answer it. Today's question comes from Justin, who asks, do you still believe in and utilize the 80-20 principle in your own training and in your clients' training? What advice do you have for beginner runners with regards to finding and maintaining that low intensity zone? So one of the most popular videos on my channel is a review of the book 80-20 Running, which I did several years ago when I first read the book. I interviewed the author Matt Fitzgerald on my podcast, and when I read that book, it kind of revolutionized the way I looked at training, both from a professional standpoint as a coach and also from my own standpoint as a runner who's trying to get faster and improve my times and stay healthy and all of those things. The main premise of the book, the main premise of 80-20 training is to do the bulk of your training, about 80% of it, at a really low, easy level of intensity. Think like zone 2 if you're used to using the zones that your watch might have set for you, or kind of that below threshold type of pace, well below, in a lot of cases, below threshold pace. But then when you go hard, the idea is to go hard, that 20% of the time, really hammer it. And the science behind it is pretty simple. Going easy helps to build your aerobic fitness, your aerobic base, and when you really boil it down, getting faster isn't what most of us need to do. If we're running races, doing events that are longer than 400 meters, it really boils down to our aerobic fitness. Because think about it, if you're doing a 5K, a 10K, marathon, half marathon, ultra marathon, whatever, any type of distance, again, basically longer than a quarter of a mile, it's all about how long can you maintain a high level of speed, a high level of effort. What is your endurance? And that's where training easy helps to build that endurance. If we're training at too hard of a level, it doesn't hold up. So when I read 80-20 Running, I did a video review on it. I talked about it on the podcast. I was all in. However, things have changed slightly. I actually really do still believe in the principles of 80-20 running. I mean, hardcore, believe in the value of going easy, to the point that I've probably progressed for myself to being more along the lines of like 95.5, maybe 98.2. I mean, I'm all in. I've kind of gotten even more sucked into the run easy, run slow, race fast type of thing, from following Dr. Phil Maffetone a bit and reading some of his work and reading about becoming more fat adapted, which actually helps to not even need much fueling during a race, which is a pretty cool thing. So I've gone even farther down the rabbit hole of running easy to race fast, and it's working. It's working. I mean, the last four marathons I've run have all gotten progressively faster. The first two were slower than my original PR at that point. The last two have both been PR efforts, and two of those, the two PRs, funny enough, both came the week after running another race. So the first one that was a PR was 1 week after running another marathon. And then the most recent one, which happened several months ago, was the week after running an ultra, running a 50K, in which I raced it. I mean, I PR'd that as well, which we can get into why that gets some air quotes another time. But it works. It works with recovery. I recover better. I feel better. I rarely feel worn down. I'm really digging it. So to answer your question, yes, I absolutely still believe in the value of 80-20 running. I think it's great. I think that if you're really crazy, you might even be willing to dip your toes into going even farther, going with that that pure heart rate training, that Maffetone MAF style of training, where it's almost all easy all the time, just blasting it once in a while. It definitely works. It definitely pays off, but you have to be consistent with it. You have to stick with it. That's what trips people up, because it takes a little while to see progress. I mean, I'm not gonna kid, not gonna lie to you, not gonna try to kid myself or anyone else. 80-20, full-on heart rate training, zone 2, whatever you want to call it. There's different classifications, different rules that you have to follow. But in any of those instances, it takes a while to see some real sustained progress. Building your aerobic fitness doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that happens quickly. So to get to where I'm trying to go, potentially where you're trying to go as well, it's gonna take some time. So if you're a new runner, I would absolutely recommend diving into some type of heart rate based training, whether it's zone training, maffetone, math method, 80-20, whatever it is. Build that aerobic base. And here's why. The longer that you've been training more kind of standard training where you're pushing yourself, not running easy, you're pushing the intensity a little bit more often, whether it's all the time, half the time, whatever it is, that's still too much. You start to, you start to develop some bad habits. B, you're more likely to deal with some nagging injuries, which nobody wants to deal with. And then C, once you potentially finally see the light of running easy, heart rate training, 80-20, whatever classification you want to give it, it's harder to back off because you'll be like, dude, I can run 8:30 pace and now you're asking me to not go faster than 11:30? True story. That's pretty much what it was when I got started with pure heart rate maffetone style training. Because I'd kind of deviated off of 80-20, which is a bit of a long story, but basically I didn't have a heart rate monitor. My watch had broke. I got a new one. It didn't have heart rate capabilities. And so I was going with what I thought was easy, but it wasn't. So I was training kind of outside of the 80-20 zones anyway. When I got another heart rate monitor, got locked into the program, I slowed down by like 2.5 or 3 minutes per mile for my easy runs because I hadn't been doing my easy runs very easy. And then I kind of had to take my medicine, stick with it. And now it's over 1.5 years later, and I'm back to running not quite at that 8:30 pace as an easy pace, but I'm in the low to mid 9s for the most part for my easy runs now, and I have every confidence that I'm going to be getting back to my 9 flat, 8:45, 8:30, maybe even lower than that when it's all said and done in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, because this stuff takes time. So if you're new to heart rate training, again, 80-20, maffetone, whatever, stick with it. The stuff works. Be disciplined. Get a heart rate monitor. That's a big one. Don't just go with what you think feels easy, because odds are what you think feels easy and what your body thinks is easy are two different things. So get a heart rate monitor. Use it. The strap, not the one on the wrist. This one's not nearly as accurate as a strap. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but you'll figure it out. But to ultimately answer your questions, yes, I still absolutely believe in the value of heart rate training, maybe even more, like I said, more so than 80-20 at this point. I don't force my clients to do it, but I definitely encourage it. So I'm a big fan of slowing down. It's going to help you race faster. It's going to help you stay healthier. Get a heart rate strap. Be patient, because it takes a while to pay off, but it will pay off if you stick with it. So that is my answer for today. Thank you, Justin, for the question. And if you all watching have questions, or Justin, if you have additional questions, feel free to send them to me via email. AskDiz@dizruns.com is the email address. Should be somewhere on the screen right now. AskDiz@dizruns.com. It's also down in the description of this video. And if you really want to take it to the next level, shoot a voicemail or a voice memo on your phone. Record yourself asking the question. Send it to me. We've got a couple of those that will be coming through the pipe eventually. And those are a lot of fun for me to get to hear your voice on the questions. So send your questions to AskDiz@dizruns.com, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Ask Diz. See you.